With the release of Procreate 4.2, we have received a number of new options in the brush settings, and I'm extremely excited about it. It allows me to create even more beautiful brushes for you with additional optimization options such as stroke taper and also more fine-grained pressure control for each individual brush. So this is very exciting. So let me walk through the set of new brushes that I've created, and the set is called Real Brushes. So this is actually based on behaviors of real brushes that I'm using, and it was kind of triggered by me receiving a set of Karin markers and trying them out and really trying to emulate these brushes on the iPad as well. But then in the process of creating the perfect Karin brush, I ended up making so many new brushes, and the more brushes I made, the more ideas I had for which brushes I could create. So this was very, very exciting, and let's have a look what I came up with. Now, the first brush that I would like to show you, which is one of my favorite ones, and you would have seen this one already if you have watched my Procreate 4.2 new features video, is the fountain pen. And this one is so exciting because it's the first time that I managed to almost emulate that irregular dispense of ink on paper when you use this brush. So let me show you. So I'm just going to really roughly write the word fountain. And you can see this is very rough, but it creates these really cool little splotches of ink. And this is not something that I do, this is just what happens with the brush. And depending on how much pressure you put on the brush, the opacity changes, and sort of the amount of color that gets put on the page changes as well. So this pen is very cool to use. And then next up we have the brush marker. This one is very similar to a Tombow brush marker. So it's quite a thick downstroke and then a thin upstroke. And you can also see the upstroke sort of decreases the opacity a little bit. So this one is very similar to your Tombow brush. And then we also have the Karin brush. This is what inspired the whole brush set. And this is really very much inspired by the Karin markers that I got. They have my name, so I'm obviously interested in sort of emulating that on the iPad as well. And this is a watercolor brush. So this one is best used with one of my watercolor templates, which is the one that I'm using here. And let me just show you what this looks like. So this one is quite nice and sort of watery. And I'm just gonna write my name with it. And you can see that this creates a sort of a nice gradient, and it has a little bit less color at the top of your stroke. So this creates really beautiful gradient, and it's quite juicy in the color that it puts on the page. So I'm very happy with this brush as well. It has a slight little bit of texture in it, and it's very nice to write with. And then the next brush that I want to show you is a chalk pen. So there is a couple of chalk brushes that come standard with Procreate, but I wasn't very happy with them, so I tried to come up with a slightly nicer chalk pen. And this is kind of a crumbly chalk pen. I'm just going to show you what this looks like. And it has this little edge here at the top as well. And so this looks really nice. This also really looks nice, black on white, of course. Now let's create a new layer so I can show you some of the other brushes as well. Next up is the felt pen, and this brush was very much inspired by the Stabilo felt pens that I used as a student back in my days at school. So this is kind of a little bit of a softer brush, and it's almost monoline, but it does have a little bit of pressure sensitivity, and this looks very nice if you use it maybe as a sort of a note-taking pen. You can also use it for lettering, but this is it's sort of a nice soft pen that just reminds me of my time back at school. Felt pen. So you can see, so one of the things you'll notice with this pen especially, if you use this a little bit slow, I'm just going to show you how this has an animated brush tip. So this means that you can see when you put the pressure on how the stroke becomes thicker and thinner. And so this is actually even just watching it like this is actually quite cool. Just going to zoom in a little bit more so you can see how this animates. So it's very nice. And this is one of the reasons why all these brushes now haven't got the streamline setting set to the max. So if you have a look at this, you'll see that the streamline here is only set to 77%, and this is because the stroke taper now takes care of a little bit of smoothing out the strokes as well. So I feel we get better control over the brush without needing that much streamline now, which is very nice. And then next up in our list of brushes is the fine watercolor brush. And this is probably my second favorite brush because it takes advantage of the new opacity setting that can be set individually per brush now. So let's see what this looks like. So this is a brush that you can use quite fine as well. So this is meant to be one of your smaller watercolor brushes, maybe a size 2 or a size 4 maybe. So this is what it looks like. And you can see how the water runs out, sort of like it would with a real brush. And it sort of creates these really nice transitions and gradients between the thick and the thin, and the sort of more opaque versus the more transparent letters. So this creates really, really nice lettering effects with sort of mimicking real watercolor as well. But then having said that, this is quite thin, but you can definitely make it thicker as well, and that kind of enhances the effect. And you'll see also how it blends really nicely where the stroke overlaps as well. So this is very, very nice to use with a bigger size as well. Just going to reset that. Alright, let's create a new layer. Now let's have a look at some of the Fudenosuke brushes that I made. When I first started making them, I was just going to make one, but then I found that, you know, the tips can be different with them. So I decided to make a hard, a medium and a soft tip Fudenosuke brush. The first brush out of the set we want to look at is the Fudenosuke Hard Tip, and I actually made this brush for myself to improve my handwriting a little bit. I'm going to show you my handwriting in a second and you'll see it's very average, but using this brush is actually fun and makes my handwriting a little bit better. I've sort of previously used the more crisp line brushes, but I found that it just looks horrible. But with this one here, because it's got a little bit of texture, and so it just makes my handwriting ever so slightly nicer. So I'm using this brush mainly to take notes or even to create lettering pieces as well, because I just find this makes my handwriting kind of look acceptable. So you can see my scribble. It just looks like this. But I can actually write reasonably quickly with this brush. You'll see also if you look at the streamline setting, this one's only 29%, so this is not high, but it creates kind of nice strokes like this. So this is a really, really nice brush. Next one in our list of Fudenosuke brushes is the medium tip. This one is nice because it has the really nicely animated brush tip. So now let's try and write a little bit nicer, but you can see now how this animates quite nicely, and because it's a medium tip, it'll also create a slightly thicker brush stroke, easier. So I'm putting it sort of the same amount of pressure on this as I would have done up here. Obviously you can change the size of the brush if you find this too thick. So let's write this again. Like that. So this is kind of a medium thickness, sort of creates thick and thin strokes, but it's not too extreme. If you would like it to be a little bit more extreme, you can use that Fudenosuke Soft Tip brush. This one is a lot softer, and this will make it easier to create thick and thin strokes. So let's have a look. So you can see that this one emulates a soft brush tip. which will make it easier to create these beautiful transitions that you all like so much. Alright, and then last but not least, we have the Juicy pen. This is probably my most fun pen to use because it creates a really nice and juicy watercolory look. Make sure you use this with the watercolor template. So I'm just going to create a new layer again to show you what this looks like. And this is a really fun brush which creates these nice juicy watercolor letters. And what's a bit different from this as opposed to the Karin marker or the watercolor brush is that this has a slightly more frayed out brush tip. So this creates a little bit of a more loose stroke that you will get with one of your larger watercolor brushes. Alright, so here is a brand new set of 10 new Procreate brushes, all using the latest features of Procreate 4.2, and you can find them all on my website. Click on the link in the description of this video to grab these brushes now, and don't forget to let me know what you think about them. If there's any that I have forgotten, please let me know, and I'm going to try and emulate those as well. And thanks so much for watching. Have fun with the new brushes, and I can't wait to see what you are going to create with them.